He said it loud enough for the entire table to hear. "Don't mind her, she's just army trash." My own father, at my wedding. The words cut through the clinking glasses and forced laughter like a knife. I didn't flinch. I didn't even blink. I calmly lowered my champagne glass and waited. Then my groom, steady and calm, set his glass down and said, "Sir, that trash is my commanding officer." The room went dead silent. My father choked on his wine, the red spilling down his shirt. Gasps echoed around the guests. That was the moment his empire of cruelty began to crumble. Growing up, I had always been his disappointment. Too stubborn, too outspoken, too much like a son, he'd sneer, but never as a compliment. When I enlisted, he laughed. "You'll come crawling back. Girls like you don't last." When I earned my rank, he scoffed. "Uniform or not, you're still nothing." And whenever I came home on leave, his favorite toast was always the same: "To my mistake of a daughter." For years, I swallowed that bitterness, telling myself duty meant silence, but silence eats you alive. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was already laying the groundwork. It started small, studying his habits, how he bragged loudly in public but begged quietly in private, how he called me useless, yet dropped my name whenever he needed credibility in his business circles. Every insult was a thread in the rope he was unknowingly tying around his own neck. By the time I met Michael, my groom, I knew exactly what I'd do. At first, I didn't tell him the whole story, only pieces, enough for him to see the scars but not the depth of the wounds. But he saw anyway, he always did. And when he learned who my father really was, the man who mocked me, disowned me, humiliated me, Michael didn't run, he simply nodded once. "Then let's give him a show he'll never forget." The wedding became my stage. The guest list was mine. The seating chart was mine. Every single detail was designed so my father would believe he was still the one in charge. He thought it was his night to flaunt his wealth, to show off the power of his name. He had no idea he was walking straight onto my battlefield. The ceremony went by smoothly, the vows, the rings, the kiss. He smiled through all of it, pretending to bless what he had spent years cursing. But the reception? That was where he couldn't help himself. With wine in his hand and pride dripping from his voice, he leaned toward a table full of investors and said those same words that had haunted me all my life. "She's army trash." I felt every pair of eyes turn to me, and I didn't mind. The trap was already set. Michael's response wasn't rehearsed. It didn't have to be. He just spoke the truth. "Sir, that trash is my commanding officer." The shock hit my father first, then spread to the guests. The investors he was so desperate to impress suddenly looked at me differently, not as the failure he had always painted me to be, but as the leader he could never break. His laugh caught in his throat. His power died right there in that room, but I didn't stop. The very next morning, the papers ran the story, pictures of him mid-choke, headlines about the bride who outranked her groom, the officer who commanded soldiers in silence with the same authority. The investors pulled out of his deals, his reputation collapsed. The man who spent his life tearing me down had become the punchline of his own downfall, and I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to lift a hand. I just stood still and let the truth swallow him whole. Weeks later, he came to my door. No suit, no pride, just a broken man, hunched over, desperate. "You humiliated me," he whispered. "No," I said, "you humiliated yourself. I just let the world see it." Now, when people ask me if it was worth it, if revenge tasted as sweet as they imagine, I tell them the truth. It wasn't sweet. It was clean. It was the quiet after years of shouting, the calm after the storm he had created inside me. He called me trash, but on my wedding day, in front of everyone he lived to impress, he finally learned what I really was: unbreakable, unreachable, untouchable, and he will never forget it.